Sorry I've been away for so long, and it has been nearly a year since I last put up a video, and I have to admit my heart had started waning from photography. I just was struggling to find a reason to show content or share content and get that drive to go out and do the photography I wanted to do. I had health issues at the time, and which are being dealt with, but I just couldn't get any passion. And in the end, I thought about giving it all up. But I think for me, one of the problems was I had a really technically great camera for astrophotography, the Sony A7S. Wasn't the latest version, but it was such a scientific instrument. It just didn't engage me. I had my Pentax K70 and I loved that camera, but I struggled to find lenses and grow with the system, and the K3 Mark III was way out of my range. So I sold it all, let it all go. And then I was just living with a Fujifilm X-A5 and my little Olympus Stylus 1. But I started to miss it. I started to miss aspects of photography and having a go again at astrophotography. So, here it is. This is the camera that's re-energized my interest and my passion for photography. And it's a surprising choice. It wasn't one I ever thought I'd go for. I've had Fujifilms in the past, X-T10, X-T30, I've had the XE series. And the X series camera with a PASM dial? No. But, surprisingly, yes. Once I've got over the fact that it has a PASM dial, there were so many benefits for astrophotography for me. One of the problems I always had with the XT series was the fiddly little dials at the front and the back. And this has got nice big dials on the top. Still has a fiddly dial at the front, but the big thing for me is, if you can see, the custom settings. And those custom settings update on the fly. And when you've got gloves on and it's freezing cold, instead of having to try and use a touch screen or fiddly little buttons, I can just flick straight to the custom settings that I've created for the scenario that I'm doing photography. So I'd like to share with you some of the photos that I've taken so far, testing this, some of the Milky Way photos that I've taken. I've decided to get just a handful of lenses for now. If you're thinking of starting out the XS10, you'll see a lot of people recommend getting the 18 to 55 kit lens, and it is a fantastic kit lens. But things are a-changing. If it's your first Fuji and you're not really sure of the photography you want to do, save the money. Get yourself an XS10, but go on with one of these lenses, the XE15 to 45. And then, if you want to do astrophotography, use the money that you would have spent on the 18 to 55 kit lens and get yourself a Samyang 12mm f2. If you're not really bothered about astrophotography, you can buy one of these cheap. This is an XC 50 to 230. It's very cheap. It's plasticky, so is the other XC lens. But it gives you a range from 15mm to 230mm on a great camera with good tracking, and it gives you time to figure out your photography And then you can work out what lenses you want for what you want to do. And you haven't really lost much, and you've got time to save up. The other reason I recommend against getting the 18 to 55 is because of Tamron and Sigma. Tamron are releasing an 18 to 300 lens, so if you want a nice big kit lens that's a travel lens that has all the ranges, you might as well either buy the body or buy the body with the XC lens, and then when the Tamron lens becomes available, upgrade to that. If you want a kit lens though, or a kit lens range that has f2.8, the XF 18 to 55 is only f2.8 at 18mm. As soon as you move away from it, the aperture changes, and it's f4 at its 55mm end. Whereas the Sigma that's due to be released at the end of the year is f2.8 throughout the range. So if you're really keen to get an XS10, but you're not sure what lenses you want to get, I would still stick with the XC 15 to 45. It's quite maligned by a lot of people, but it's actually a fairly sharp lens. It's surprisingly impressive for its cost and its size. And its build. It's a power zoom, but most of us get used to that, and I don't really worry about it. And the XC 50 to 230, well, I'm not really a wildlife photographer, but I like to dabble and play, and it's a cheap one, and I don't really feel I could justify to myself the cost of the more expensive XF longer zoom ranges. But this lens, the Samyang 12mm f2, you've probably seen reviews. Everyone loves it. It's just stunning. And with the Fujifilm colours, it's a beautiful lens. The other lens that I would recommend if you ever are looking at lenses is to look at the f2 series of lenses. This is the 23mm. These are the XF lenses. 23 is the equivalent on full frame of 35mm, and you can find reviews out there ad infinitum. It's a great walk around lens. I would like to get the XF 50mm because I think that would be a nice portrait lens, but I'm not really a portrait photographer. So, please join me on my journey back into astrophotography and Milky Way photography, and I'm going to experiment and play with other forms of photography this year as I reignite my passion with my new Fujifilm XS10. Have a look at these.